Hey guys, with season 2 of One Punch Man coming out, I'm starting to get interested in the whole story of Saitama again, and so I figured I wanted to talk about it, and who better to talk about it than with the community of the internet, right? So I think one of the things that I've always had a question about was why or what makes Saitama so strong, right? Or why is he so strong? There's a lot of theories going around from years ago when my voice cracked from years ago when One Punch Man came out. A lot of people were wondering why he's so strong, and so I'll kind of just go over the theories, some of the theories, and go over what I feel like makes him so strong. And hopefully you guys can either correct me or give me insight on what you guys think, because I don't think the author ever mentioned what makes him strong, or at least hasn't clearly stated what makes him so strong. So hopefully maybe we can try and just theorize about some stuff, make it fun and all. So I think first things first, a lot of people obviously see One Punch Man as a type of satire, or essentially it makes fun of the genre it's in, right? So it's like the superhero genre, it kind of makes fun of that with this character who's just unbeatable, right? So essentially the satire theory is that he is this character who's completely unbeatable. There's no point in even questioning how strong he is. He's going to be as strong as you need him to be, right? Whatever villain appears, he'll be strong enough to beat them. That's essentially what makes this satirical. Now, I'm sure that's the case, so maybe it's not necessarily a theory per se, but that's kind of a cop-out. And even if it's true, I feel like we can somewhat find a way to find a real reason rather than just sidecasting it as it being satire, even though there's a good chance that it is satire. So one of the other things is the idea of obsession within the whole One Punch Man universe. And so what essentially the theory of obsession is that people get their power from obsessing over things. So for instance, one of the first villains introduced, which was the crab villain, I believe, when Saitama was just a regular guy, he was obsessed with the crab, so he became a crab, right? And then there was another one where the car vehicle monster, whatever, he was obsessed with it, he became that. And there just seems to be a lot of cases where there's an obsession for something and they end up achieving what they become through this obsession. So in Saitama's case, he's obsessed with becoming a hero or the strongest hero or whatever, and so therefore that's where his power derives from. Now, I don't think that it's completely wrong, but I think it ties in with what is actually mentioned in the manga. So if you haven't read the manga or web novel, spoilers, so don't listen if you don't want anything spoiled, if you only watch the anime. So essentially what was mentioned in the manga is the idea of limiters, and these limiters are something that all people possess, and it what holds us back from becoming this like greater than human entity, right? These limiters. And essentially this limiter theory was made from not a person, but inside the manga, what was his name? The scientist, Genis? I think that was the scientist's name. But essentially he's saying that like humans have limiters, and Saitama's strength comes from the fact that he broke his limiter, therefore his power is unfathomable. And I feel like this is closely tied into the idea of that obsession comes from this power, it ties in with the whole idea of limiters, right? So he was so obsessed with becoming a hero, he did his whole workout regime, which stated by Genos, not Genis. Genis is the one who created the theory. Genos, the robot sidekick, states that the 100 push-ups, sit-ups, squats, 10-kilometer run is average, normal, right? It's just a normal workout routine. And so first of all, hearing that, like doing that every single day, doesn't seem to be very normal at all. Now, I don't know if Genos was saying that it's normal for someone who's like abnormally strong, or someone within like the work of heroes or people who have superpowers. It might be normal. In that case, it might be believable. But for a regular human being, it doesn't seem as average, like an average workout routine at all. It seems really, really awful, actually. Depending on how the universe is, maybe humans are normal in that sense. But considering the fact that Saitama was struggling, his joints were cracking when he was doing the push-ups, like all that type of stuff, I doubt it was normal, right? So that could have been the process of like he legitimately did that and he broke his own limiter, right? And so the idea of the limiter is that once you break it, you'll constantly get stronger and stronger and stronger every time you exert the force. Although that seems to be the case, especially since it's provided by the author, what I guess the question I have of why he's so strong or what makes him so strong is, what are the classifications for breaking this limiter, right? Like what I'm talking about is what makes it so that Saitama is the one who broke his limiter, but Genos, who's literally been melted to the point where only his spine and organs are showing, or to the point where he literally had to replace his entire body parts, how come he didn't break his limiter? How come Silverfang hasn't broken his limiter? He seems to be like a normal human being, although he did get completely smashed by that alien into a building and survived somehow, which wouldn't be the case for a normal human being, even if he was a master of martial arts or whatnot. But it could be that humans are not what we conceive as normal in this universe. So there could be stuff like that. And I think the answer I concluded at was that whatever brings you closest to death while you're still human. And what I mean by that is, in Saitama's case, I don't think the 100 push-ups, sit-ups, squats, whatever, that doesn't bring you close to death. That'll mess up your body for sure, but I don't think that brings you close to death. I think what brought him close to death was actually him sitting in his apartment or whatever in complete heat, because that probably make him get like heat stroke, which could legitimately be life-threatening, because there's no way, you know, completely letting yourself be immersed in heat to the point where you're passing out. And so, although I could be contradicting myself, there could be other examples of this. I can't bring it to memory right now, but an example I wanted to talk about was, what is his name? Goro, the hero hunter killer, Garou, Garo. Okay, you know. Anyways, I feel like he's a good example. So if you're not caught up in the manga, or you don't have to be too caught up, I feel like he had his little arc. Essentially, I feel like notes of him breaking his limiter have been seen, right? Like he's the second person, or well, he's the first person that we've seen come close to breaking their limiter in this like overpowered sense, right? For instance, you could say that the monsters themselves are breaking their limiters, but they strayed away from humanity. So they might have achieved a new limiter, which is that for a monster, right? Like monsters have their own limiter, that could be the case. Humans have their own limiter, but because they became a monster, contained within the monster one. The reason why he is breaking his limiter is the fact that he has been getting his ass beat by literally everyone, right? He gets hunted by the heroes, he gets his ass beat, he beats them, and then he fights Silverfang, and the other guy gets his ass beat, barely escapes, fights the monsters, gets his ass beat, barely escapes, and then at some points, even it seems as if he's not even conscious and he's unconsciously fighting. But we see Garo being able to actually hold his own against Orochimaru, or the Monster King, until he goes into his like completely messed up form. But still, to the fact that like he's being able to survive that long and even hold his own against it for a certain amount of time. That's one of the things that shows him coming to what we've been introduced as the closest thing to breaking your limiter, right? It's maintaining your sense of humanity as well as pushing yourself to the brink of death. over and over and over again, right? So in Saitama's case, he did it like every single day for 5 years or something like that. And then in Guro's case, he's like this succession of just getting his ass whooped over and over and over again is his case of coming across death very closely. I know I can think of like a whole bunch of other examples and stuff like that. So the only thing I can think of is that one, they maintain their humanity. So in Genesis' case, right, he became a cyborg, so he's not technically like 100% human. So maybe he is unable to achieve the breaking of his limiter, right? And that's why I said a contradiction might be like Silverfang, right? But we don't know the entire backstory of Silverfang and whatnot. Anyways, that's kind of all I had wanted to talk about. I know this question has been brought up for literally years now, and no one really has a nice answer. Everyone usually just resorts to, look, he's a satirical character. He's as strong as you need him to be, which is perfectly fine. But for people like me, maybe people like you guys want a little bit more like a more concrete answer of there has to be a reason. So this is mine, you know? This breaking of the limiter results to getting close to death as well as maintaining your humanity. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know what I got wrong. I know that the web novel and the manga are slightly different. I've read mostly the manga. I'm caught up on the manga. The web novel I haven't really caught up on. I'm not necessarily reading it too much. If I have free time, usually I just kind of just look at it and read a few chapters here and there. I know the stories differ, and so maybe there's an answer in the web novel. If there is, let me know. I'd really like to know what the secret behind his power could potentially be. Anyways, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening to me just ramble and rant on about some made-up character that's been answered for like 2 years or whatnot. It's just something I really like talking about. And I figured with season 2 coming in, what is it? April, I think it's coming in April this year. What better time than to strike up another conversation with everyone. Again, thank you guys for listening. See you next time.